There are moments in sports that go beyond the game itself. Moments that remind you why you fell in love with watching athletes compete in the first place. What happened at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami on March 17, 2026 was one of those moments. It had nothing to do with a match, nothing to do with a score, and nothing to do with rankings or trophies. It had everything to do with who AlexEala is as a person. The cameras were rolling during what was supposed to be a simple practice session, and what they captured left thousands of fans speechless and sent the entire internet into a frenzy within hours. If you want more stories like this one, the kind that go deeper than the scoreline and show you the human side of the sport, make sure you subscribe to Court Legacy and hit the bell so you never miss a thing. Now, let's get into it. AlexEala is 20 years old. She is Filipino. She is ranked number 29 in the world, which is a career high for her. And she has become, without much argument, the most beloved player in women's tennis right now. Not because she wins every match, not because she hits the ball harder than anyone else, but because of who she is when the cameras are on her, and more importantly, when she thinks they are not. The story of what happened during her practice session before the Miami Open is the perfect example of exactly that. The morning of March 17th was already buzzing with energy around Hard Rock Stadium. Hundreds of Filipino fans had arrived hours before Eala was even scheduled to step onto the practice court. They came wrapped in flags, they wore custom jerseys with her name on the back, they held handmade signs with messages written in both English and Filipino. One of the most common signs read, "Laban Alex," which roughly translates to "Fight Alex" or "Go for it, Alex." The crowd that gathered was not small. By the time Eala arrived, there were so many fans spilling into the walkways around Court 5 that security had to form a human corridor just to help her reach the court safely. Once she got there, things looked normal at first. She started her warm-up, hitting ground strokes back and forth with her hitting partner, working on her footwork, going through the kind of routine that professional tennis players follow before every tournament. But there was something noticeably different about her energy that morning. She looked relaxed. More than relaxed, she looked happy, playful even, like a young woman who was genuinely enjoying the moment rather than treating it as work. Then, about halfway through the session, she stopped. She held up her hand to signal her hitting partner, jogged over to the side of the court, and approached a section of the crowd. There, standing among the sea of Filipino flags and cheering supporters, was a little girl. She looked about 7 or 8 years old. She was holding a sign that she had clearly made herself. The letters were uneven and wobbly, the way a child's handwriting looks when they are trying their very best. The sign said, "Alex, you're my hero." Security guards moved toward Eala, ready to intervene and keep the crowd back. She waved them off. She walked directly up to the little girl, crouched down so she was at eye level with her, and started talking to her. Not a quick wave, not a fast photo. She actually talked to this child for nearly 2 full minutes, and then she reached into her bag, pulled out one of her practice rackets, and handed it to the girl as a gift. The crowd absolutely erupted. Phones appeared from every direction as fans scrambled to record what they were seeing. The little girl's mother began crying immediately. Eala stood up, smiled that wide and warm smile that her fans know so well, and walked back to the center of the court to continue her practice session. Just like that, as if she had simply stopped to tie her shoelace. But the cameras had caught everything, and within hours, the internet had too. The video spread faster than almost anyone expected. By the end of the day, it had already been viewed millions of times across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The clip was shared by sports accounts, by Filipino community pages, by fans who had no particular interest in tennis but found themselves deeply moved by what they saw. One post that went viral read, "AlexEala just did something no tennis player has ever done. Gave away her practice racket to a young fan mid-session. This is why she's different." Comments flooded in from every corner of the world. Filipino fans celebrated the moment as proof of something they already knew about Eala's character. Tennis fans from other countries expressed genuine surprise and admiration. Even players currently competing on tour took notice of what happened.
But to truly understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand where it came from. Eala has spoken openly and honestly about gratitude in many of her interviews. She has said that although she has not personally experienced extreme poverty, she has seen it. She grew up in the Philippines, a country where the gap between wealth and struggle is visible in everyday life, and that reality shaped her perspective in a deep way. She appreciates what she has because she understands that it is not something everyone gets. That sense of appreciation is not something she performs for cameras. It comes out naturally in moments exactly like this one. The little girl's name was later revealed to be Maria. She had traveled from Orlando with her family, specifically to see Eala practice. They couldn't afford tickets to any of the actual matches during the tournament, so they had driven to Miami early in the morning, hoping that if they got close enough to the practice courts, they might be able to catch a glimpse of their hero from behind a fence.
What they ended up getting was something so far beyond what they had hoped for that Maria's mother could barely find words to describe it afterward. She told a local news outlet that she had told her daughter they might see Eala from far away, if they were lucky. She never imagined that Eala would walk over to them. She never imagined the racket, and she said with complete certainty that her daughter will remember that moment for the rest of her life. That is the kind of impact AlexEala is having right now, not just on the tennis world, on people, on families, on children who are growing up watching a young Filipino woman compete at the highest level of a global sport and win, and the ripple effects of that are enormous. A few days before the racket moment, there was another story that captured the attention of Filipino sports fans around the world. Eala had reunited with Erik Spoelstra, the head coach of the Miami Heat. Spoelstra is one of the most successful basketball coaches in NBA history. He has won multiple championships, built one of the most respected programs in the league, and done all of it while being openly proud of his Filipino heritage. He made history as the first Asian American head coach to win an NBA title, and that achievement carries enormous meaning for the Filipino community, both in the United States and around the world. The Miami Heat shared a video of the two meeting, and the caption described them simply as two powerhouses representing the Philippines at the highest level of their respective sports. Spoelstra presented Eala with a personalized Heat jersey. Both of them were smiling widely. The image felt significant, not just because of the celebrity of the two people involved, but because of what they represent together. Two people with Filipino roots competing in American professional sports at the absolute top of their fields, acknowledging each other and celebrating their shared heritage. Eala and Spoelstra had actually met before. Back in 2023, Eala attended a Heat game that happened to fall on the night Spoelstra recorded his 700th career coaching win. That connection between them had been building for a while, and reuniting in Miami just days before the start of the Open gave Eala something meaningful to carry onto the court with her, a reminder that she is part of something much larger than a tennis tournament. She said after the meeting that seeing someone with Filipino roots succeed at the highest level in American sports means so much. It shows what is possible, and that is exactly what she, in turn, is showing to the next generation. The Filipino community in Miami is significant in size. Over 200,000 Filipinos live in South Florida alone, and during the Miami Open, thousands more travel from across the country to support Eala in person. The atmosphere around her matches and even her practice sessions resembles something closer to a national team competition than a standard WTA tournament. Veteran officials have noted that the energy when Eala plays feels like a Davis Cup venue, where fans are not just supporting one player, but an entire country. That is a rare thing in individual sports, and it speaks to the kind of connection Eala has built with her people. She understands that connection deeply. She has said that she believes she has a following for a reason, and that the platform she has built carries a responsibility to have a positive effect on the people who look up to her. She does not treat that lightly. You can see it in the way she stays after practice sessions, long after she would normally be expected to leave. On the day of the racket giveaway, after the formal session ended, after the obvious viral moment had already happened, Eala stayed at the court for nearly 45 more minutes. She talked with fans, she posed for photos, she signed every single autograph that was requested of her.
Tournament officials tried to move her along. Security reminded her that there was a schedule to keep. She waved them off, just as she had waved off the guards when they tried to stop her from approaching little Maria earlier in the day. These are not manufactured moments. They are not the product of a PR team or a carefully managed public image strategy. They are just who AlexEala is. And yet, underneath all of this warmth and generosity, there is a serious competitive reality waiting for her at this tournament. Eala arrives at the Miami Open as a completely different player from the one who showed up here in 2025 as a wild card with very little to lose. Back then, she was an unknown quantity in the main draw. Nobody was sure how far she could go. She went all the way to the semifinals, stunning the tennis world in the process and announcing herself as a genuine force in women's tennis. That run earned her 390 ranking points, and now, 1 year later, those points are on the line. If she exits the tournament early, those points disappear. Her ranking, which sits at a career-high 29th in the world, could drop back down to somewhere in the 50s or 60s range. That is the cruel mathematics of professional tennis. You have to keep performing at the level that earned your points, or you lose them. There is no credit for what you did before.
Her draw this year is difficult. She has a first-round bye, which means she does not play in the opening round. Her first actual match will come in the round of 64, where she will face either Laura Siegemund or Petra Marcinko. Siegemund is a 38-year-old German veteran, ranked around 55th in the world. She's been on tour for a long time and knows how to compete. She is the kind of player who uses experience and intelligence to compensate for whatever she might lack in raw power. Marcinko is 19 years old, Croatian, ranked around 72nd. She is young and hungry and unafraid. Either one of them presents a genuine challenge, particularly in the chaotic, highly charged atmosphere of a stadium packed with Filipino fans. If Eala wins that first match, the tournament draws get harder quickly. A potential third-round encounter with Iga Świątek is sitting on the horizon. Świątek is currently ranked number 3 in the world and has won 5 Grand Slam titles. She is also the player Eala defeated in the quarterfinals here in Miami last year, in one of the most shocking results of the entire 2025 season. Świątek has not forgotten that loss. She answered it a month later at the Madrid Open, but the memory of what happened in Miami still carries weight. And Świątek, who last year was dealing with the additional stress of being verbally abused by an aggressive fan during matches, will be competing with something to prove this time around. Beyond Świątek, the potential path only gets more difficult. Karolina Muchova or Klara Tauson could be waiting in the 4th round, Victoria Mboko or Mira Andreeva in the quarterfinals, Coco Gauff or Amanda Anisimova in the semifinals. On paper, it is one of the toughest potential runs you could draw up for any player in this field. But Eala has said she is not focused on the numbers. She knows that what happened in Miami a year ago was the beginning of something, not the peak of it. She has played more matches since then. She has had big wins. She has also had tough losses. All of it has made her more experienced, more confident, and more certain that she belongs at this level. That confidence is visible in how she carries herself now compared to 12 months ago. She is not trying to prove she belongs anymore. She knows she belongs. She said it directly after Indian Wells when she reflected on the past year, stating that the experience she has built since her 2025 Miami run has helped her develop real confidence and self-belief. There is a steadiness to her now that was not quite there before. And that steadiness shows up in all sorts of ways, in how she plays, in how she handles pressure, in how she talks to the media, and yes, in how she stops mid-practice to hand her racket to a little girl holding a wobbly handmade sign. AlexEala is 20 years old. She is ranked 29th in the world. She has 390 points to defend. She has a potential Świątek rematch waiting for her. She has the hopes of 115 million Filipinos riding on her shoulders every time she walks onto a court, and she carries all of that with a smile. The moment with Maria was not planned, it was not coordinated, it was not designed to generate attention on social media. It was simply AlexEala seeing a little girl who had traveled hours just to catch a glimpse of her and deciding that the practice session could wait for 2 minutes.
That impulse, that instinct, is what separates her from almost everyone else in professional sports right now. She is not just competing for herself, she is competing for every Filipino child who now looks at her and believes that they can do something extraordinary too. That is a rare thing. And Miami, once again, is the stage where the world gets to watch her chase something extraordinary. If you enjoyed this story and want more in-depth WTA coverage, player profiles, and moments that go beyond the scoreline, subscribe to Court Legacy today. Hit the bell so you never miss an upload, because every single day there is a story worth telling.